Hello, denizens of the universe. There's a reason for the title on this. Going to be discussing a couple of subjects that I don't usually. And I have my reasons for not really discussing these. I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into it. I'm kind of curious as to what people's takes are on the fact that Teen Titans Go has a theatrically released movie coming out. I'm curious, what's everybody's take on that? Personally, I haven't really watched the trailer for it, so I can't really say much. Or actually saw a teaser trailer for it, I think. And looked pretty par for the course for what the show usually tackles or covers. I don't plan on seeing it in theaters, so not really going to discuss much there. To be honest, I see the show as a source of morbid fascination anymore. Just looking at what discussions around the topic are, what people might say about it. To be to be honest, at this point, I think the most legitimate concern or complaint anyone can bring up is how often it appears on Cartoon Network's schedule. Anything beyond that is pretty much a dead horse. There's that spate of episodes that poke fun at fans of the original series, or people who have criticized previous episodes. Those episodes have pretty much been tackled or discussed to death. And the deadest horse is it's reusing characters from the 2003 iteration of the series. The same character designs, the same voice actors. That particular argument or discussion is a very long dead horse. The last time I heard someone bring up indignation or sort of some kind of upset about that, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Probably a more casual cartoon viewer, somebody that doesn't really spend as much time on the internet or lurking around. He's just like, this is what I do. So, oh man. It's kind of ridiculous to think about. Just okay, that'd be a completely different tangent in and of itself, though. I If I'm going to be brutally honest about this, though, the big reason why I kind of keep tabs on this or might even look at content every once in a while is because I'm curious to see how far this particular discussion has gone or what it's evolved into. Like, what are people discussing at this point? The only thing you can really say in regards to the movie is that it says a lot for how. Okay, so Cartoon Network reruns it to death. It's pretty much their rough equivalent to what SpongeBob is to Nickelodeon. And as far as I can tell, it's definitely successful with the target age demographic they have in mind. There haven't really been many TV shows that have translated directly to theatrically released movies, so that's definitely a major accomplishment in and of itself. The only other one I can think of off the top of my head is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And the two aren't necessarily directly correlated, though. Okay, I can't word today. I'm gonna go ahead and switch gears for a while, change discussion topics. Because with Go, there's only so much you can really say. Every potential talking point or discussion is a dead horse by now. There's people that have tackled it in far more interesting interesting ways than what I could. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and drop it. Just sort of just sort of discussing that in more of a what else is there to really discuss about that at this point kind of way, just outside looking in kind of thing. Okay, I guess I have one more thing I could say about it. The biggest reason I usually discuss bringing up that particular topic during podcasts or otherwise is because it pretty much just devolve into the same set of arguments or frustrations or hand-wringing that you've seen 1,000 other times before. That's what it devolved into. And I guess it's just kind of odd that, okay, no, it's not odd. It just leads to a very polarizing discussion if you bring up certain topics or certain things. Just if you phrase your opinion or say the right thing, it's gonna generate some kind of discussion. It's going to bring some kind of polarized. Hell, for a while there, up and coming cartoon reviewers or cartoon reviewers in general, anyone who covers cartoons, that was their go-to topic, because if you brought up the quote-unquote show that must not be named, oh, you're going to get tons of views. You're going to have people arguing with each other in the comments, going, ah, rah. Okay, yeah, I'm going to drop that particular discussion now, because really, there's not much further to, there's really not much else to say about it. I'm just morbidly fascinated by what kind of discussion or overall it generates. Though, I guess what's kind of interesting to look at when you look at the landscape for animated movies now, when you think animated movie, first thing that comes to mind is, what's Pixar's next film? What's Disney's next film? DreamWorks, Blue Sky, all of those particular companies. It is very rare to see or even consider, is this particular TV show going to get a theatrically released movie? That's an interesting topic by itself. But I kind of want to come back to discussing Friendship is Magic for a minute. Now, to be brutally honest, I dropped off of this particular cartoon a long time ago. Haven't really kept up with it. But the fact that it got a theatrically released movie, that Hasbro or whoever is in charge of that kind of thing decided, hey, this is popular and significant enough that we're going to dump some kind of budget into making and having a theatrical release for this. That says a lot. Actually kind of has me thinking, could this be possible for another cartoon franchise? Could this be possible for another series eventually? The thing is, it's kind of hard to think of what other series might reach that kind of momentum or have enough eyeballs or generate enough interest that another network or studio would be willing to take a chance on it. And to be fair, I don't know if anyone was expecting Friendship is Magic to take off like it did. That was a phenomena in and of itself, even 8 some years later after the first season came out and the Brony phenomena and all that stuff. That was a unique occurrence in and of itself. I can't really think of any other cartoons currently running that could generate the kind of momentum that you had with something like Bronies, or capturing the kind of success you'd have with okay, I'm just talking about this in an overall generalized view here. Another cartoon that could capture and get the same kind of success is what SpongeBob SquarePants, Teen Titans Go, or even Friendship is Magic did, to the point that a network would honestly consider translating it into a theatrical movie. Okay, looking at some of the comments here, just as a side note here, thanks for letting me know that the movie takes place after season 7. I'll keep that in mind for if I start watching through the series again. I'll watch through the entirety of the series before watching the movie. That way it's in chronological order. That's just how I'd personally prefer to go about it. If there's any topic that I've definitely been kind of curious or intrigued to research, it would be the decline of TV shows translating to theatrically released movies. Because there really hasn't been a lot between the early 2000s and more recent 2010s, as far as I know anyway. One of the most significant clip notes I can think of, and this is kind of depressing in and of itself, or in a way, when Disney originally shut down their traditional animation studio back in the early 2000s because CGI is the way to go. CGI is where it's at. That's where we're going to get more bang for our buck and all that kind of stuff. One of the last movies to come out of their traditional animation studio was for Teacher's Pet, an animated series called Teacher's Pet. Why I'm laughing right now is that I remember going to see that particular movie at age 7 or 8. I don't remember much about the movie. I just remember exiting the theater and my parents were disgusted. They absolutely hated it. Everybody unanimously agreed that that was one of the worst movies we'd ever watched. And years later, I don't remember any details about it, but my younger brother remembered this. He remembered the weirdest thing about this movie, or I'm just going to go ahead and give a rundown of what the general premise for the Teacher's Pet series was. It was about a boy's dog that desperately wanted to become human or pretended to be human. He'd tag along with the kid to school every day, and one of those ridiculous over-the-top disguises. He had Urkel pants pulled all the way up past his waist, plaid shirt, nerd glasses, that kind of thing. And the Teacher's Pet title came in with how eager he was to please and how well he performed in class, that kind of thing. I went out of my way to rewatch the first episode of the series a while back, and the series itself isn't too bad. It was your typical Saturday morning fare. It was clever and entertaining in its own right. It had potential. But looking at what kind of series it is, if this particular premise had run all, I think the show got a couple of seasons, and then they were going for a TV movie. And the premise they were working with was the dog gets to become human. He meets a blue fairy, Pinocchio-style blue fairy, and he gets to become human. What comes to mind with a premise like that? You'd think that he'd become a human kid or something and probably run around, do kid stuff, some kind of hijinks and wacky adventures where he transformed into a human and then realized he liked being a dog better. Something along those lines, right? Well, instead, when the dog becomes human, they decide to play it close to the vest. They decide to go with, oh, in dog years, he is much older than his human compatriot. He turns into a middle-aged human man. And just, it goes as far as the dog in human form meets up with the kid's mom. There's some kind of weird romance element, and the dog turned human is going to become his new stepdad, and it's just, who thought of this? How the hell do you come up with a premise like this? Or who greenlights a premise like this for the end cap or the end game for a Saturday morning cartoon series? For a series that's geared at 8 to 12 demographic, your general audiences. Where the hell did this idea come from? Just, it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind to think that admit that that particular movie has been a source of. I've been half tempted to try and find the original series, watch through it, and then or have a bigger breakdown of compare and contrast between the series and the movie. Like, I remember I was going to do some kind of video series about this, or make a video about my thoughts on the series versus the movie. At the time I was looking this up, you couldn't find the Teacher's Pet series anywhere. If you looked anywhere online, you weren't going to find it right away. Now, if you use more illicit means, you'd probably find it, but in general, just looking through the web in general, it's not on Amazon. Last time I checked, it wasn't on Hulu or anything. It was one of those Disney series that got swept under the rug and just seemed to disappear off the face of the earth. The only piece of content you could find was the full animated movie, if I remember right. You could find the animated movie on Amazon. Pretty sure that isn't the case now. I'm pretty sure the full series is floating around somewhere. I remember seeing somebody going to the effort of uploading the episodes for archival purposes. Like, they'd rip the episodes off of VHS or something and were slowly uploading them onto YouTube as a means to catalog the series and give people access to it. Not sure if that YouTube channel's still around at the moment or not, because this is like 2-3 years ago. Wouldn't be surprised if they've been slammed or taken down by copyright strike by now. But I'll bet if I looked around hard enough, that person is still around somewhere. Wouldn't be surprised if they set up shop on Daily Motion instead. When it comes to looking for I don't know how far into this particular conversation I want to tread, but it seems like if you want to watch episodes of something and still find them up like a day or two after the episode premiered, somebody uploaded it, you're more likely to find it on Daily Motion than YouTube. Yeah, don't really want to trudge into that particular conversation too much, since if I have my druthers, I like to support the official release of things. But considering I don't have cable, kind of have to. Yeah, that's not always the most viable option. Not gonna fork over money for cable. That's my personal preference. That's a complete thing in and of itself. Not gonna get into that particular discussion. Man, ended up going on a completely unrelated tangent about Teacher's Pet. But it is kind of bizarre to think that this was one of the last episodic syndicated TV shows to get a theatrically released movie. It was one of the last to get one until you heard rumbles about Friendship is Magic, Teen Titans Go, SpongeBob, etc. Actually, you could probably say it was the last kind of obscure, kind of small potatoes TV show to even be considered for something like that. Because anymore, the show pretty much has to be a hard hitter to get any consideration for something like that. It's kind of an interesting topic in and of itself, huh? Yeah, definitely need to do research on that particular topic. I started up a Twitter account again. Half tempted to reach out to one of the bigger personalities and that still actively makes cartoon reviewer content or whatever, and say, hey, have you ever considered doing a series on why there aren't as many theatrically released cartoon movies based on TV cartoons anymore? Like, or have you ever thought about covering or discussing this topic? Probably somebody out there. Probably somebody out there that's done it or at least touched on it anyway. Shoot, trying to think of any other early 2000s TV shows that got a theatrically released animated movie. Teacher's Pet was just the first one that came to mind because it's just so bizarre, so out there, and the premise just I would be very surprised if there hadn't been a cartoon reviewer that said some kind of piece or is planning on doing some kind of review of the Teacher's Pet movie. If you're some kind of cartoon reviewer and you're looking to get the edge on weird, obscure stuff before some of the big names like Rebel Taxi, Mr. Enter, whoever's the big dogs in that now, check out the Teacher's Pet movie. You'll you might be ahead of the game on I'm the first reviewer to tackle this weird shit. I beat everybody to it. I'm king of the mountain. Yeah, so oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot about Hey Arnold and Recess. Really horrible fact. I have not watched through the Recess animated series. I didn't watch through it as a kid. I definitely need to watch through it now. I remember seeing bits and pieces of the movie when it was shown on TV. Definitely liked the core of the series and some of what it was going for. I just never sat down and watched through the entirety of it. I don't really have a decent reason or excuse for why. I just haven't. The Arnold, or the first Hey Arnold movie, didn't really watch that either. From what I can tell, general reception of it is pretty mixed. I haven't really watched it myself. I'm not sure if I'm too keen on it. I have seen the most recent production, like the Jungle movie. Yeah. Oh, oh yeah. How the hell did I forget that the Nostalgia Critic covered the Teacher's Pet movie? How did I forget that? God, goes to show how well I keep tabs on this. Well, it's still such a weird, ridiculous out there thing that I still think it'd be worth somebody else taking a crack at it. And if you're going to make something different from what the critic did, it'd be giving an overview or look at the series versus a movie or something like that. That's just my opinion on that, though. Going to okay. I'm not sure I want to. I'm not sure I want to say anything about the Jungle movie since, well, I thought it was just okay. Nothing fantastic or spectacular. It was just okay. If you're a fan of the original Hey Arnold series, even if you come back to it years later or just recently watched through it for the first time, definitely worth a watch for some kind of closure on how the series ends or getting to see the movie people were that was rumored for years. You saw pieces of the script floating around. You saw some discussion of it, like hushed whispers like, is this ever going to get made? At least it got made. That's really the biggest thing I can say about it, though. I guess it tied up all the loose ends that the series left behind. Just okay. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and the movie didn't feel right to me. To be fair, this was made 10, 20 years after the original series wrapped up. And it's probably been a while since anybody had looked at the series, done anything with it, really wrote for those particular characters or done anything with them. A person would be a bit rusty coming back to a project after that much time. But the thing about the movie overall, I don't know if I would have even liked it if it had been made after the original series wrapped up. If it had been finished in the time frame the original series was wrapping up. To be honest, when I think of Hey Arnold, I think of a series that's fairly grounded. Like, you have a set world. You have just... I guess what I mean by grounded is it takes place in the cul-de-sac. You have fairly realistic or relatable problems on the character's part. It's more character-focused, oriented, and based. It's just a lot more grounded or level-headed. Like, there's a touch of realism to the series, for lack of a better description. I don't mean real as in all the characters are just realistic as in you have a cast of fairly well-rounded, fairly believable characters. That said, most of how the characters talk and behave, there'd be some points where I'd be like, kids aren't like that, but I was willing to give Hey Arnold a pass in that particular respect, since a lot of the morals and a lot of the themes and overall tone they were going for, they got their point across fairly well. They did what they wanted to. With that particular image in mind, the idea of Arnold going down and exploring the Amazon, there being this hidden tribe that he goes to help, some kind of supernatural element or Indiana Jones-esque, it just feels like such a major departure from what the rest of the series is. It just didn't feel right to me. It felt like a very different series. That's just my take on it, though. That's just my take on it. And if this adds anything, I'm generally somebody that this is going to be a little bit of a departure, but I'm a simmer. Like, I like to play the Sims series, and my favorite aspect or element about that particular game, it tends to be fairly grounded or based on reality. Like, there's some realistic elements or components to it. Like, the big appeal is you're setting up and following somebody through their daily life. My favorite element or component to that series is when they bring in ridiculous stuff like witches, supernatural elements, that kind of thing. I love that kind of stuff. So I don't even mind it if a more grounded cartoon series entertains the idea of more supernatural elements every once in a while. Or has an episode that throws everything out the window and does something a bit weird or screwy. It's just, with Hey Arnold, this wasn't a one-off thing. This is an established part, element, or component of the series. This progresses the plot in a very significant way. Like, this is a major part of that particular series. If you're going to continue from where the Jungle movie ends, you can get back to some slice of life elements, but the fantastical adventure element is still there. You have a very dramatic tone shift, or what else enters the series, or what else would be discussed. There's no way you could have Arnold interacting with his parents and they wouldn't bring up what adventures they've gone on, what kind of things they've done. It's a very, very different tone from what the rest of the series has. I don't know. Maybe given time, if the series did progress from that particular point, like you got to get to know Arnold's parents, and this other fantastical layer was added to the world and sort of built onto and progressed from there, I'd probably get used to it. I'd probably like it. Probably end up liking it, depending on how well it was executed and integrated. But it take a while to get used to, because it's not really something you see in the core series. To be fair, they did build up to the Jungle movie. There was a lot of build up, a lot of hints dropped that, and it does give Arnold a happy ending. As somebody that I don't know. I'm probably in the minority on that, or holding this particular opinion. I guess I just wanted to get this out, or kind of just kind of get my thoughts out there. I think that's more of a nitpick than anything else, though. I don't want to rag on it too much, though, because there's a lot to be said for the fact that Craig Bartlett got to come back and finish up a series. That's a major milestone. That's a major success here. That's reason enough to watch the movie, that you get to see closure and some kind of end cap for the series overall. I just say, if you're going to watch the movie, don't expect it to measure up to other episodes or earlier parts of the series. Just watch it with the mindset, I enjoy the series. I've gotten invested in this particular group of characters, and I want to see them get a happy ending. I want to see Arnold reunite with his parents, that kind of thing. If you watch it just as a fan, it serves its purpose. It gets the job done. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay, my mind's gone completely blank. uh, okay. I think now would probably be a good time to wrap things up, since can't really think of anything else to. And the other thing I can think of discussing, yeah, the most recent Steven Universe episode. To be honest, I'd rather do that on Headcanon Hive with a couple of other people to chime in and give their opinions, since there's a lot of ground to cover there. Quite a lot. And I'd like to bounce off of somebody and really get a discussion going. Like, discussions about, especially with what major twist there was in the most recent episodes, that's a much more fun dynamic discussion. When, like, what I'm doing right now, it wouldn't do it justice. It'd be a lot more fun with other people to give their takes, opinions, etc. Okay, thinking about it, I'm gonna send a couple of messages to Headcanon Hive peoples right now, see if I can get something rolling either. Yeah, probably gonna be this Saturday. Well, bye everybody.